She sounds top dollar.
Just another, yeah. My voice has been giving me problems like 3 weeks now. It's like, some days I have it, it's just terrible. But I have problems with my voice box, so.
Ginger.
Believe it or not, ginger. I will try that.
I heard marshmallows.
What?
Marshmallows?
Legit, looks like your throat and relieves the
Ginger is less
Hot
bad.
I was gonna say, there
No,
is a
just-
tea that has
just
marshmallow
marshmallows.
root.
Yeah, just
I don't
marshmallows.
know if everybody can see this. I don't know why it's really dimming. It's
Maybe because
really
the lights need to dim too.
I can shut the lights off in here too if that helps.
like if I turn it off and on, and I know my husband put the remote control somewhere, and I don't know where he put it. It's his fault.
He's trying to be helpful for you.
There,
See,
see,
so it works, and then it dims, so I don't
And then it
understand
dims.
why it does that.
Oh, it's kind of dimming with the computer screen.
That's true.
No, I tried that one, and it didn't dim.
I don't speak IT.
So I'm gonna sit down because I really want this to be a roundtable discussion and not me just standing up presenting.
Okay.
And so I want to thank you for all of you coming. Because of time, I don't want to go into an elevator speech. I think we pretty much know everyone here except this young, beautiful lady.
That's fine. Good morning, my name is Trish Giacconi. I currently run the local domestic violence shelter and rape crisis program here in Flagler County, but I am a licensed mental health therapist. I just opened a private practice about 7 months ago. There's my elevator speech.
Hi. Wonderful.
Yeah.
You want to go?
No.
No, okay. Let's go this way then.
Hi, I'm Lisa Byer. I'm with New York Life. I'm helping individuals and families and businesses find the right fit for them with reference to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, the whole gamut.
Hi, I'm Amy Dumas with Watson Realty Corp. I'm the sales manager there for the office, so if you need anything, family services.
I'm Ellen Kohler, and I'm with One and Only Jewelry by EK, and I just started my business full force. I have my website going up on July 14th. I'm so excited, and I have my domain name. Yay!
Yay. Congratulations.
Good morning, I'm Abby Baker. I am a realtor working at Palm Coast and the Beaches Real Estate, so I help buy and sell and people invest in homes.
Good morning, I'm Mara Mesa. I am also a licensed mental health counselor, and I have been practicing in Volusia County, but I will be opening my practice in July in Palm Coast.
Erica Rivera, educator on sexual assault prevention and recovery, healthy intimacy, and adolescent safety.
Laura Fickett, CPA, MBA, left public accounting to be a financial coach and help people make better money decisions in their personal and business finances on a daily basis. I tell everybody I don't want them to be frustrated with their finances and say F it, I want them to say fit it.
My name is Christine Watkins. I'm the owner of Marco's Pizza down in Daytona Beach on International Speedway Boulevard.
Oh, you said yours. I'm Nina Galato, and I work here at Lone Funeral Home, and it's all about death, that's why. So I help with pre-planning, not, when someone passes, I can't help them, but pre-planning their funeral, cemetery, and cremation. All right.
And your ducks in
Welcome. And
Get
get
your
your
ducks
ducks in a row, exactly.
All right, Cynthia, I'm with two things. One is Sensible Water Solutions. We provide water conditioning systems for your home for healthy, clean living. And then I also have my own business, Funky Fandom Fashion, where we make custom-made products for your passion. So if you want t-shirts, clothes, cups, whatever, if I can find a way to do it, I will do it with whatever you need. So.
Maria, and obviously I'm not technically savvy.
You want to help with that, Maria?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why it's dimming.
Maybe
Maria from Mente
Microsoft
Consulting.
Maybe it's doing like a
screen, like savers.
like switch screens.
Oh, no,
It's still doing it. It's still doing it. So,
weird.
so MD Consulting, I was a psychologist. I'm no longer one. I switched into business coaching and consulting because I can actually do the business aspect of it and the psychology and join it to help you grow as a business or personally. So before we start, so I want to tell you a little bit about Yeah, it's not, I don't understand why this is not, can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to tell you a little bit about why I started this group and when did it happen. It's a personal experience, and I think all of you being women probably had the same experience I did. And since that experience, I've had many other experiences that maybe we can talk about at a future time. But when I was about 18 years old, naive, 18 years old, and I think Erica, you know the story, I got a job as what was it called, purchasing manager for a cargo airline. And I replaced a man about 10, 15 years older than myself for the same position. A few months later, I found out through the grapevine, office politics, that the individual was getting paid 3 times more than I was getting paid. So 18 being bold, person that I am, I walked into the CEO's office and I said, I just learned this and I need a raise. You need to pay me the same that you paid this gentleman. And he did pay me the same, but that kind of stuck with me. And then throughout my career, I had similar experiences. Even, I thought, let me go get a lot of education and I won't have that experience. It didn't work, I got a lot of education, and I still had those experiences as well. So that's always been in the back of my mind, and quite honestly, I've always wanted to start a group like this where it's not only networking, but it's also mentoring one another and learning from one another and growing both personally and in business. I never did it because I got too busy. And to the benefit of you guys, or to the, I shouldn't say benefit, to my benefit is you guys inspired me to start it, you know, through the networking. So that's the story of why this evolved the way it did. I don't want it to be my group, I want it to be a woman's group and your group. So this is a very vague topic, general topic, but I really, if there's a topic of interest that you have, maybe we can have somebody else presented, with the idea of being solution focused, where you have a challenge either in your life as a woman or professionally, and other women can actually say, hey, I went through that and this is what worked for me. So kind of that dialogue and that discussion. So jump in if you have a question. I'm going to ask questions as we go along to just open up the discussion, so to speak. So I've been sending this, so you probably know this, but basically this is a roundtable discussion, and this is my vision of the goals for this group, which I already talked about. I went ahead. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which is very general, is really connecting with one another, again, as not only networking, but mentoring, but also learning what entrepreneurship is. And I think we all know what entrepreneurship is, but also learning about intrapreneur. And a lot of people do not know what intrapreneurship is. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur and the traits that make you a successful woman entrepreneur or a woman with a successful small business owner. Also, we're going to talk about leadership style. There are many, so I only picked a few, but we definitely do have our own leadership style that we prefer, and sometimes we're not aware of it, and we tend not to think that leadership is across the board in our life. We only focus on leadership as at home, at work, but it also is at home with friends and in the community. So we really want to identify what is our leadership style, who we are, what are our strengths as a leader, and what should we work on as a leader, and what does that take? That takes understanding what leadership is, understanding what the styles are, and understanding your own leadership style. The challenges we faced, we're going to talk about. Women have unique capabilities for decades. We have been told that we should do business like men. And we actually, a lot of research has come out that women actually are better than men in business and in leadership. Because we're different. There's a lot of similarities between men and us. But we are different. Our brain is wired differently, and we're going to talk about that. So we want to be who we are as women and really tap into those unique capabilities that make us women. Because it definitely is beneficial to your business. Don't let anybody tell you you should do it like a man. Research has shown that that's not necessarily the most effective way. And again, self-awareness, becoming more self-awareness of who we are as a leader, as a business owner, and so forth. If any questions, just ask. So I really want to start out with statistics. And this is post-pandemic, because during the pandemic, a lot of women lost businesses. Okay, more so than men. And we know why, because we have to stay home, we have to do
Kids, doing
around the house and
the
so forth.
school, doing school aspect.
Exactly, so a lot of women lost their businesses during the pandemic. So this is post, well, we're still in the pandemic, but post-closure because of the pandemic. So as of 2021, there are 12.3 million women-owned businesses. That's 30%. And depending on the research that you see, it goes from 30 to 40%. You say, well, that's a lot. It really isn't if you think about it. So 3 to 4, out of 10 businesses, only 3 or 4 are women-owned businesses. To me, that's not a lot. Okay. We do, as women, generate $1.8 trillion annually to the economy of the United States. Okay, and employ about 8% of the population, or 9 million employed. These are the two, well, of course, there's areas that we need to focus on, but two of the areas that we really need to focus on as women is minority-owned women. There's only, out of women-owned business, only 18% are minority-owned, or 18.7%. And that is any minority. And 26% are CEOs or managers. And that's when we're going to talk about the entrepreneurship aspect of it. The woman who really wants to climb up the ladder and be that CEO or that manager in a company or corporation, there's only 26%. So we're still definitely having some challenges in that area as well. Despite all those challenges, in 20 years, there's been 114% growth of women-owned business. So we're doing something right. Okay, and actually we just still need to do it. We still need to keep at it, basically. You can't see that, but basically those are the strengths that we need to really focus on. There's more, or areas that we need to strengthen. There's more, but these are the top 4, which is, again, increasing women in entrepreneurship and management, increasing support and networking, but more so mentorship. There is a need for mentors, for women to mentor women, not only give out cards and networking. It's important. And one of the reasons we're going to talk about why it's important is because who we are as women. We thrive on socialization. We thrive on networking. That makes us successful as women. So we definitely need to strengthen that. Our leadership and entrepreneurial skills, we need to focus on those things. And this shocked me as I was doing a lot of the research, is women do not ask for money. We spend money for some reason, but when it comes to our business, we don't ask for loans. We don't go to SBA to ask for loans. And you can have the best idea, we're going to talk about this, you can have the most genius idea, if you don't have the money to, you're not going to be able to make it successful. But we don't. And there is money out there for women to have, okay? And part of that, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, looking at it from a psychological perspective, is because we're very future-oriented. We're always thinking, well, what if this happens, and what if that happens? So we don't want to take that risk. It is a risk to ask for a loan. Any questions so far?
No, I do think a lot of times, though, that money conversation is difficult for women because women undervalue their services and overvalue the helping aspect of their lives. So if it means I would rather help somebody than charge them whatever I'm worth, and so that becomes a problem in women business owners.
And that's because in one of the slides we talk about leadership in that we're collaborative. We are collaborating. We help. We want to help other people, and that's part of the reason. But it's not only that we undervalue ourselves, it's also that society has undervalued us as well. Because one of the things that we're going to talk about is our limiting beliefs that come from our experiences in our society. You know, so it's a kind of like, you're absolutely right, it's kind of a combination of both.
Well, I recently met these two ladies that they've been going around and they've made it their job to tell women, especially minority women, about some grants that are available to small business owners. Because although it's available to all small business owners, right, that have, what, 5 employees or more, okay? It's become like a boys club thing in terms of information. They don't share it with women and minority. It's like information is kept to only certain people.
And I think we can use this group for that kind of information, because one of us has come across that kind of information.
Yeah. So I told them that I'm going to have them come and speak.
Oh,
Actually.
yeah, great, that's awesome, the more the merrier, as I say. So we know what entrepreneurship is. Do we know what entrepreneurship is? So entrepreneur basically is an employee who works in a company and acts like an entrepreneur. So they bring ideas, they bring exactly. Within a corporation.
Often abused though.
Often abused, but women sometimes do that because of the flexibility of it. And because there's less risk in entrepreneurship as there is in entrepreneurship. Right. The other thing is that women really start as entrepreneur. I know I did. I started as an entrepreneur, working in a company, working in a corporation, learning the skills, and then I said, oh, I can do this. And then I moved away and became an entrepreneur. And I think we see that in research. We see that we start as entrepreneur because we need that safety net, because oftentimes we're the single person earning money in our household.
Correct.
And so we need that safety net, and we become entrepreneurs and then entrepreneurs. And that step from entrepreneurs to entrepreneur is a very hard one for women. Not many women take it. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody has to be an entrepreneur. It really is what your comfort level is. Yeah. And the reason I bring that up, because as business owners, research shows that we really want to promote entrepreneurship in our company, like Loman with you. Because that's what brings money, that's what brings ideas, that's what brings innovation. But many businesses do not promote entrepreneurship. They have a different leadership style. Okay, where it's more control, and we'll talk about that because that's the leadership style of men, more control, more hierarchy, and they don't promote the entrepreneurship.
Well, honestly, when for me personally, and this is just me, when I think of Lomans, I think of me.
People ask me if I own it.
Yes.
They do.
And then that's why
you say
yes.
I say yes, I own everything.
You have to make sure that you don't get like one of these bosses like I've had in years. It's just insecure and jealous. Right. You know?
Which happened to me in my previous job.
Right. So you're blessed that you have like a secure.
Yeah. You've been fine with it. Go do what you gotta do.
Here's the thing though, like when I coach women, and sometimes I'm coaching women that own their own business, and sometimes I'm coaching women that don't. I tell everybody that you own your own business. So you're Laura Incorporated. If you decide to work just for one client, Moments, then that's your decision. But you decided to work for one client, whereas I decided to work for a bunch of clients in my business. But when people can change their mindset like that, I say, then you're in charge of your salary. You're in charge of everything. Because if you go out and you sell, what does your one client want?
That's right.
If you go out and sell their services and you build up their business and you do all that kind of stuff, they're going to promote you, they're going to give you more money. You're in charge of increasing your own income.
Exactly, that's what it is.
Right, exactly. So when they change their mentality, and I say every woman is a business owner, you just chose to only work for one client.
Right.
Whereas we've chosen to work for more than one client.
So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because since you brought it up, going to what you were saying, what ends up happening with women is that many of us stay home. There are a lot of women who are stay-home mom or homemaker. And what ends up happening is that they don't have the education or the skills, or they think they don't have the skills. So it really is making, going to what you were saying, is making that mind shift, because even if you own your company, or even if you work for somebody, there are skills within the home that you have that make you an entrepreneur. And it's changing that, shifting that mindset, as you said, to look at yourself differently, despite all those limiting beliefs of what the world and society and time has told us. So, absolutely. So, there's two reasons why we become entrepreneurs. And we call those push or pull factors. And when I talk about this, really think about what is your reason for becoming an entrepreneur. The push factor is something, those factors that push us into becoming an entrepreneur. So for example, we're a single parent, we need to make money, and we need to have our own company because we can't find a job. It's pushing us to do that. The other one is a pull factor, and the pull factor is something that pulls us to being an entrepreneur. And that is, I want to learn more, I want to expand my horizons, I want to do something for the community, I want to, learn from others, so that's a pull factor. So thinking about that, which one do you guys think is more long-term pull factor? And the reason I say think about it is because if you start as a push factor, you don't necessarily, that's okay, you can make it. If you start as a push factor, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't make it a pull factor. You know, sometimes you start as a push, but women get stuck there. They get stuck there, and you don't have to be stuck there. You can shift to a pull. And it's very important to do that. Because if you don't, I mean, there's exceptions to rules. But when you have pull factors that make you an entrepreneur, there's going to be growth. Okay, there's not only going to be money growth, which we all want. Okay, there's also going to be personal growth. If we stay in that push factor, it can turn to frustration. Okay, and we can say, well, I'm not getting what I need, and I need to go find a job. And then our business fails, and we go get a job. So really think about through this presentation, what made you become an entrepreneur? Where are you, as a push or a pull factor? Okay, and make that shift. Anybody wants to share where they are?
She said a good word. You said it's more what?
Gratifying, and it's when you are in the pull factor, it's you're not saying, well, I have to do this. The pull is more, I want to do this, I'm going to do it, and I'm not letting anybody tear down my thunder because this is what I want and I'm getting it. And that's how I perceive my company. When I had my company many years ago, it was more of a push because I had to prove to my father, well, a woman can run her own business. And lo and behold, he didn't realize it until he said, oh, well, you know, he was an auto mechanic and he had a loft in his garage. And I says, well, you know, he's like, well, you know, you need more space, so why don't you just go up there? And then he saw me bring in money, and every client that went to get their car repaired, 85% it was women that were dropping off their cars. They had the kids yelling and screaming with them and yada, yada, yada. And then I would be coming down to go deliver favors or whatever, my business, I had a favor business, and I got my clients through him. And it started growing so big that a cleaning company, industrial cleaning company, had opened up a favor store within their warehouse. And lo and behold, my dad had the contract for their trucks. So the owner of the company is like, oh, well, we really need you. And I was like, well, you know, I wrote my own ticket to that company, and it flourished. But New York got so stinking...
So New York.
All you have to say is New York.
example of where you can shift from one to the other. And it's interesting because women started with a pull factor. They didn't start with a push factor. They started with a pull factor. Okay, the pull factor of freedom, of being free as women. That's a pull factor. And as time went on, it turned into a push factor when the divorce rate got up. Okay, and we became single women raising our kids. It became a push factor. And with that, we saw a huge decrease in success. And now there's a struggle. It goes, some women pull, some women pull. So definitely, you know, there's not one trend necessarily today, but it's definitely something to keep in mind, you know. And it's something that you can go back and forth. It's not something that it's always this way and that way. No, I mean, you know,
But with that happening, I was able to go to that company and actually keep my company going at my dad's thing and still double profit.
smart.
It would be interesting to see the correlation between that and religious beliefs, because I always feel like I'll ask God for something and He'll pull me in the direction I need to go. And I just trust that that's the direction I need to be in. So I don't really I've never felt like I really have a push factor. I always feel like I'm being pulled to where I need to be when I need to be there. So it would be interesting to see the correlation between faith and...
Yeah, I think faith is very important in many different ways, regardless of what your faith is, even faith in yourself, basically. But I think faith is very important in many aspects of psychology. I mean, it pulls us through everything, so to speak, if you have faith, and not only in business, but in personal and social.
And I think the faith too is that vision. As long as you can see it, you know, and you keep that in the top of mind, and it's what gets you up in the morning, and it's what keeps you going. You have the faith that I will eventually get pulled there.
Yeah. And that is absolutely one, I think it's the next slide, yeah. That is absolutely one of the attributes of an entrepreneur, that vision. That you have to have the ability to see ahead. You know, if you do not have the, and we'll go, I'm skipping through this slide, if we do not have the vision to see ahead, how are we going to get there? Because in order to be able to create that roadmap, you need to have that vision. If not, where's the roadmap going, basically? So it's important that you do have that vision. Sometimes it's pulled by faith, basically. So with this is, you know, what are the entrepreneurial goals? And this is not necessarily that you go up the ladder and you've reached it, you can go down the ladder, up the ladder. But it's really for you to look at it and think, where am I at the ladder? Where do I need to spend my resources? And not only money resources, but time resources. We always have to start with a product and a service, of course. And then comes the funding. That's what I said before. If you don't have the funding, I don't care if you have the best idea in the world, you're not going to be able to get that idea out there to the community and to the world. And then the talent and the staff. For me, that's what I focus on because of my psychology. I focus on the individual, the staff, and growing the person within the company or personally. So where are you there? Are you, if you're a business owner, are you not hiring staff because you may feel uncomfortable because it's money, basically, and you're stuck there? The point being is that if you don't hire the staff that you need, you're not going to grow your business. If you're not going to get the money you need, you're not going to grow your business. And even if you had an initial idea, in today's world, you have to have a second idea. So we always have to be innovating. We always have to be looking for that next idea that really is going to promote our business, promote our services, and make us grow. Okay. And do we have the marketing again? If you don't have good marketing, you're not going to grow your business. The efficient operational growth. And what do I mean by that? Not spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere. You really need to think about what wheels am I spinning, and am I just like that little mouse that's going around and not getting anywhere. So really being effective in that way. And again, investment is not only about money. We often think that, hey, if I'm not making money, then I'm not being successful. And success is what we make it. Success is more than just money. It's also personal growth. And why do I have this slide? Is because women can start a business. Women are good at starting businesses. It's challenging to grow it. We see that all the time, where we get stuck, okay, and we get comfortable where we're at because we're successful at some level, we're making money, and we don't take the next step for growth. And today's world, it's about growth, it's about moving forward, if you want to compete, because it is still a man's world, which they're very competitive. And women can be too. So going back to your attributes, I'm not going to go through each of them, but the dream, the vision, we talked about it. And these are really 10 attributes that in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you really need to look at where are you in these attributes. Which ones do you need to strengthen? Which ones are weak? Obviously, there's going to be some that are stronger than others. So what attributes do you need to strengthen? Is it the decisiveness? Oftentimes we're not decisive, and that goes back to the limiting belief. We have all these ideas, and we don't take the step. We don't decide, and we're entrepreneurs. But again, to grow your business, to be successful, you have to decide. You have to make those really difficult decisions. I can share this if you guys want, for your email. You need to be determined. Now, this is an area that most women are. And women tend to be very determined when they get something in their head. You know, when they get something in their head, and men, it's happening. Okay? Dedication is another one. Devotion. Details, details, details. It's not only about looking about the vision, the future, but also about the details that will get you, that has that roadmap to get you to the future. Destiny, wanting to change your destiny. Oh, that's interesting. I just got a phone call. It's interesting because I put it in airplane mode. Money, again, or dollars. You see, there's 10 D's. And the ability to distribute and delegate. And this one I want to touch upon because we tend not to delegate. We tend to want to do things ourselves.
Because we do it better.
And we know it gets done the way we want it.
Spoken like a true control freak.
I'm an only child, so I'm over there and I'm a control freak.
Well, and I was thinking it even goes into like our personal life. We were talking about mowing the lawn. And, you know, could I afford to have a lawn service? Absolutely. But I enjoy doing it. It's that, you know, being outdoors, we're talking about the sun and all of that, you know, and feeling like it's a workout. But if I have that money for lawn service, then why not have somebody clean my house? You know, something that when you think about back again to the value that you're placing yourself, you know, time is money, all of that. How much of value is it versus you spending the time to do it versus delegating it and having someone else do it?
Absolutely. And that's, again, goes back. Go ahead.
I can tell you my intimate story.
Oh, no.
So I was a single mother, 3 kids. I met my now husband, and he decided to stay at home when we had our son, who's 8 now. And he started to do the grocery shopping. Well, I grocery shop, I'm looking at unit prices, I'm looking at BOGO, I'm looking at what's on sale, you know, I'm financially conscious, right? I noticed the rise in our grocery shopping bill, and I'm like, what's going on around here? Like, what's happening? So one day he comes home with an Entenmann's raspberry strudel, and it's like $13.98 for this junk piece of sugar, right? So I lost my mind, like, over the Entenmann's, and that was probably like the last day he has ever felt confident going grocery shopping ever again.
So going on that route, and actually when we go to the brain slide, which is the next one, you'll see, going to that comment, I asked recently, less than a month ago, I asked my husband to go get fish. You know, in Publix, they have those, you can buy the big fish, ask them to cut it, or you can just buy those single fish. And it says, when you buy them single, it's like $23 a pound. But when you buy the whole one and you ask to cut, it's like, you know, whatever, $11 a pound. So he comes with these little fish, and I know that they're the single ones because I'm very observant.
Right?
Are these the, yes, do you realize that you just bought 23? What are you talking about? So, you're not getting fish anymore. You're done. You know, so yes, we tend not to delegate. delegate, and we do need to delegate, and I'll tell you why. Because when we delegate, everybody does things differently. We have different minds. Our minds, we have different experiences in life, okay? So somebody else can bring something to the table that you have not thought of, that you haven't even had the time to think of. So it's important to delegate, because you don't have to accept it at the end of the day in business, but if you delegate, you know, then that person can actually make your business grow, okay? So just like you and Romans.
Well, what I learned from the Entenmann story is if you fail in delegating, it's because you failed in educating.
Right.
Because I did not give him any kind of education on how I would like him to grocery shop, or how you would like him to buy fish, or, you know,
He
how
should
you
know.
would like.
Exactly. Let's not make excuses.
I mean, what did they do when they were bachelors?
Waste money.
The cost is there. Come
And I
on.
think also to go along with the delegating, you also have to be open for the suggestion of others in order to allow you to delegate. Like when Erica called me and said, your social media is really sad, you need help. I was open to that. So I delegated Erica to make me look better, and she
And you look
did.
so nice.
And I look so much better, and people made comments like all over the place, like, wow, you know, so you also have to be open to hear suggestions, because I know sometimes with my husband, and he'll make suggestions and I just like, no, and then I gotta wait, oh, that is almost a good idea, but you know.
Almost.
But your instinct was no.
Almost, but you know, there's a fine line, but you have to also be open, because sometimes people will feel like nervous to approach you. So you also have to be, I think, approachable to be able to allow yourself to do that.
Absolutely, and that goes back to leadership style.
When it's your idea.
Yeah.
That goes back to leadership style, because even at home is how do we lead in our home?
That's right.
You know, how do we run our home?
Right.
You know, do we run it, I'm jumping ahead again, as an authoritarian person, or do we run it in a collaborative
And it's like
way?
a business. My kids say that sometimes to me, you run the house like a business. I'm not your employee, I'm your child. Well, don't get fired, so let's get it going.
Do what I say.
Exactly, it's the same thing, because like you said, when women are home, they don't realize their value of what they're doing. It's just like, if we've seen the Karate Kid movie 100 years ago, remember, he had to wash the fence in the car. And he was like, what is all this? I'm not becoming this master Karate Kid, you know? But he was. So just like women, all these skills that we're doing with organizing a household, making a chalkboard of organization, or whatever it is that you have, and in your household, that is the skills that you take, and we don't give ourselves credit for
That you can sell,
Yeah.
you know, in your business, and that you can sell,
That's
or you
right.
can promote, or you can strengthen,
Mm-hmm.
or foster as well.
Yeah.
But they're hidden there. They're not really hidden, but they're hidden because you're not really paying attention to them. Because often we run our home like robots, so to speak, without thinking about it, without really contemplating what we're doing. It's just like, without really thinking, hey, how much did it take for me to do some planning to this? You know, kind of thing. So, and that's why in my business, that's why I don't separate the personal from a business, because it's the same world, basically. You know, so this is, my specialty is neuroscience, and there are more similarities than not with men and women, but there are some differences. We are different species, even at the brain level. And men, and you're going to understand now why men are men. Men tend to, doesn't mean that we're going to change our behavior, we can, but men tend to have their brain communicates differently than women. The messages in their brain communicate differently than women. So we have two hemispheres, okay, the right and the left hemisphere. This is the middle, you know, when you have the right and you have the left. Men's messages, the synapses that are the ones that control the messages that go, are lateral. What does that mean? They just focus from here to here to here to here to here to here. You don't see them crossing. Okay, you see it's here. They go one direction. Okay, they're not crossing. Women tend to cross. okay? And that makes us different in the way that we process information. So sometimes I have to tell myself, and I keep bringing my husband, poor man, sometimes I have to tell myself it's his brain.
Yeah.
It's brain.
It's hardwired.
Say that.
So when people say we're wired differently, that's
Differently.
Yes.
And then what ends up happening is it's beneficial to them in certain areas and it's beneficial to us in certain areas. One area that is beneficial to us is that because we do this, we multitask. Men cannot multitask.
No.
Yes.
They cannot pay attention, poor babies. They cannot pay attention to two things at once.
Right.
Okay, they can't. Women can do 3 or 4 things at once. You know, they can
good
multitask.
at it.
That's good, but there's a negative to that. Research has shown that in business, sometimes it is better not to multitask. There are times when you really need to focus on one task. Because if you're doing everything, then you're really not giving your 100%. You can't. You absolutely, we can't give 100% to one area. And if we don't give that 100% to one area, we're shortchanging ourselves. And I think, for me, this is my opinion, I think this is what historically has made men seem more successful in business because they do not multitask in business. They focus on one thing. They're like, they're like horses
Robots.
thing, and then they do what?
Well, that's,
Okay.
that's how those two.
Cheers.
Okay.
I was gonna ask.
This excites me because I'm a brain person.
Right.
You can tell.
So I was gonna say, so is that sometimes why if you're trying to figure out, like, let's say, for me, okay? If I'm trying to figure out like a math problem, right? Just myself. I'm a math person. If I'm trying to figure out a math problem, sometimes it's good for me to go and play music.
Yes.
That
Yes,
explains
that's
it.
the cross-wiring.
Yeah, that's my daughter.
That's the
Yeah.
cross-wiring. When men don't, and this is what makes men more technically savvy because they don't do all this. They
Yeah.
just go.
And for your spouse, in terms of communicating with your spouse, it probably would be better, instead of frustrating yourself, to just make a list for them and don't even. Just make a list for them. Don't even try. Just make a list for them and just say, hey, this is what I need you to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know who gets to do it? We do.
Yeah, no, we make the list.
No, we make the list, but guess who does the list?
Nah.
The honey-do list becomes the sweetheart list, and we do it. So we're writing our own list. Because as I'm doing my business, I'm doing a house cleaning, and my husband comes out of his office because he works from home. He's like, how'd you do that? The house hasn't been, well, it's always clean, but he's like, this is exceptional clean. And you're in that office doing the jewelry. How did you do that?
This goes back to delegation.
That's why we have secretaries.
Yeah.
That's why men have
It goes back to
secretaries.
delegation 2 ways. One, if you cannot effectively delegate to him, then you make enough money to hire somebody really attractive to come in and do it.
That is to my control. I married my husband when he was older. He was like 30-something, so he had a cleaning lady. And it really took me a lot of time to really get accustomed to a cleaning lady. It was very difficult for me. That's the control aspect, but I revealed too much. Okay, so there's also a difference in what we call white and gray matter. And I'm just showing you the differences between men and women. So you see that there are some significant differences that make us different both in the business and in the personal life. But men tend to have, I think, 60% more gray matter than women. And gray matter is that obviously gray thing that is here. I don't think the brain does look that way. I used to do brain dissections. The gray matter is this area right here, and that's where content of information is. Okay, so they tend to have the ability to have more information than we do. To store more information because of that gray matter. Okay, we have more white matter. Guess what the white matter does?
Emotions.
Emotions are in the limbic system. It's in our part processing.
Yeah.
In sending the information, okay, to that. So now you can see why, and there's exceptions to rules, but you can see why men are slower at doing things. okay,
But they're
versus
lying when they say
women.
they forgot.
So, but they are slower because they don't have the white matter that takes that content and go choo 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 choo. Where we have a little bit of less ability to hold that content, but we're like, what are you doing? You're so slow. Hurry up, hurry up.
Yeah.
So it goes back really to the brain and how different we are and the benefits and what we can use in business. Okay, with regards to that, knowing what we have.
So in this case, bigger isn't better, really.
Yes, men have bigger brains. Men have bigger
But we
brains.
utilize ours better than
Yes,
they do.
yes,
So that's
and
what it
they
is.
do have bigger brains, and there's been a lot of
Right.
research, and some research says, no, the reason they have bigger brains is because they're bigger.
No.
So is that why there's more
Not
men
that
that
we do
have attention deficit disorder than women have it?
No, actually, this is not in the slide, so we're going sideways.
I'm just
We know that
They have a
women,
bigger
we all know
brain.
that women are XX chromosomes, right?
Yeah.
And men are XY
XY.
chromosomes, right? We're all, every embryo is, the conception is a female. They're conceptual as a female. Okay, it's not until about the 3rd month or so that it becomes a male. Now the X is like this, so we have 2 X's, right? A man has an X, and then the Y, right? There's something missing in that Y, correct? Okay, chromosomally, we are the stronger sex because there's something missing in that Y. Okay, they're missing that little step, for lack of a better word, that part that goes exactly.
And then that controls their brain, no, I'm just kidding.
Chromosomally, we're stronger. So there are more illnesses. I mean, now there's some illnesses that are more women,
Yeah.
but overall, men tend to have more diseases than women. There are more women born than men. But at the end of the day, they die faster. We have a
That's right.
longer
Yes.
lifespan, and they also go to war and get killed, and they also, get
Do
killed by
stupid
guns.
things.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when we're about our 50s or 60s, it's even.
That's right.
We have
Yeah.
minutes later.
Mortality.
So then this is just basically the same as this. It's just basically the functioning is different. We have more stronger prefrontal. Prefrontal lobe for women, or for any of us, is the organization aspect of it. So I don't want to go too much into detail with this because of time. Any questions?
That's cool, I want that slide.
Yeah, can you definitely email these to us?
Yeah,
This is-
yeah.
I want to show my husband, look at you do.
Imagine living with me.
I think the key is though, to defend the male portion, is that they do have different
Yes.
qualities.
Yes, absolutely.
That when paired with us,
That's
then we have everything
right.
together. And
I agree.
Yeah.
if they do what they do best and we do what we do best, then we have everything.
And we work
Complement each
together.
other well.
But then it goes back, if we focus on business, it goes back to how many women are managers and CEOs. We are being underutilized
Absolutely.
Exactly.
for what you said, because if we're
That's very true.
this and it would be 50-50, a company would be a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't know, I did work for a company where there was a male and female partner, head partner, and she basically consumed him and then he had to like go down. I think she may have eaten her young. She was a different.
You know, honestly, I've seen a lot of that in business too. It seems like the female leaders take on this role of like you said, like eating.
Why do you think that is?
What, I think
I
they,
think
they
true.
feel like they need to be
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
It goes back to my
Survival.
story of when I was 18. I
Yes.
learned very early on. I didn't know how much it was going to impact me, but for the rest of my life, I thought, I'm going to have to do things harder. I'm going to have to get in people's face. I'm going to have to compete. I'm going to have to, I was only 18.
Yeah.
And then every time that happened to me, it just solidified and made it stronger, and made it stronger. Okay, so then it gets to a point where we're like, okay, so we have to be like
They
that.
probably just need therapy.
Well, she needs therapy.
Basically. So male and female, it goes back, so we talked about the brain and how they're different at the brain level. So what does that translate in traits? And men tend to be more transactional, they tend to be more competitive. And I'm gonna go really quickly for time reasons. Their leadership style tends to be more, and I talked about this, more controlling, more hierarchy. They want more stability in that sense of, because they're in control, everything is stable type of thing. So they tend to have that trait of leadership style. They tend to, again, prefer to control the situation, and they have what we call information flow restriction. And obviously, why? Because the information goes to one side of the brain. So they can really only handle certain information. And if you give a man, and I'm not bad mouthing, if you give the male male counterpart a lot of information at once, you will get overwhelmed. They will become overwhelmed.
Lists.
Yeah, and frustrated, you know. And their decision process, again, is linear because of that brain. Okay, and then the female traits, we tend to be more cooperative, more emotionally connected. Our leadership style is more collective. We tend to help one another. We're more team-based, and we want participation, where men don't. Men tend to be, this is what you need to do it. Women is, hey, you know, let's do it together type of thing. Which in today's world, team is very important.
Yeah. But there are some women that
And leadership, so that's very, and we tend to be more, again, dynamic. With problem solving, women tend to, again, combine information, and we tend to be more intuitive. And the reason we tend to be more intuitive, again, goes back to the brain level, because of that interaction. Because we're getting so many messages from right hemisphere, left hemisphere, and we're connecting them, that it gives us intuition. Okay. And then men tend to be more better problem solving because, again, the lateralization that they have. And communication, men tend not to grasp nonverbal cues. So they're very difficult at understanding nonverbal cues, where women do. Women are very good at facial expressions. They can pick up, you know, she did it wrong. You know, men are like,
The audience has lost interest, whereas a man will just keep talking.
and to tie it all together,
No, it's true.
and to tie it all together, it goes back to having those blinders and being able to do one thing at a time, where women have that multitasking and can see everything at once.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm talking quickly because I want to get through. I'm going to skip this one because this is
You
basically
don't know where you need.
our unique abilities, which we talked about. You know, we're more ambitious, more determined. We don't take unnecessary risks, and men do. And this is what, actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. This is what makes us better leaders. Okay. It's good to take risks, but it's good to take smart risks. Men tend to take unnecessary risks. And we tend to be, again, more ambitious. And we define success differently. Men define success primarily only by money. I'm successful because I'm wealthy. Women tend to define success in many different ways. You know, and again, that makes us a good leader, because that's what we then, the people we're leading, we are able to bring them along. And we look towards the future. We have a future view where men is more of the now. Any questions, any comments? I don't want to go through all of them for time purposes, because I want to get to the limiting beliefs. Leadership style. These are the different leadership styles. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but really start thinking about what is your leadership style. And usually our leadership style is the same at home and in business. We tend to have the same leadership. We can't compartmentalize. That's another thing that makes us different from men. We don't compartmentalize. Men tend to compartmentalize this and then this.
And we also have a nurturing,
Yes. So
like intuitive nurturing style.
So what is your leadership style? You know, are you the autocratic, which is definitely not the most successful one, which is the one that is very controlling, and you do what I tell you to do, basically. Sometimes you need that. Okay, and I think if there's anything about this slide that to learn from is that, one, you need to be flexible. with your leadership style. That's why it's important to look at what are your leadership styles, not only one, and you need to practice them. Because it depends on the situation. The situation is going to dictate what is the best leadership style. For some employees, you need to be autocratic.
Yeah.
Okay. Or at the other end is laissez-faire, where the employee basically, hey, you do it the way you want to do it. You know, parenting as well. This for the therapist, you know, because it's parenting as well. The democratic, which is how do you see it, or, you know, let's talk about it, how do you think we should do this, yada, yada, yada. So that's more of a democratic. There's no right or wrong. It is really finding who you are, what you feel comfortable with, and what the situation is. So find that and work on that. And be more aware. Everything in psychology, as you may know, or everything is becoming aware of it. If you're not aware of it, that's the first step. And then how are you going to be able to change it? How are you going to be able to strengthen it? How are you going to be able to be successful? So become more aware of your behavior. Become more aware of the situation. Become more aware of why you're doing it. Okay, when you do that, then you can work on how to do it, basically. I know I'm going real quick.
I think in this, you know, probably like, I would say coaching obviously is like 50%. But if I coached everybody with that leadership style, it wouldn't work, because some people would, I have to be like, okay, you need to, like, you need to shit or get off the pot, like, so I have to be autocratic, you know, or some people, I need to be the pace setter or whatever. So I think we probably, if you look at that, there's one dominant one, but when you're interacting with people, when you understand the person that you're interacting with, you change your style to how to lead that person.
Yeah. And then that goes to personality as well, because people have different personalities that you may experience that, but also people have different ways of doing things in different situations, even though you have a personality. And so the gender biases and the challenges we face. I'm really going to talk about the gender biases, the balance of personal and business life. I know some of you probably have to leave, and the coping with limiting beliefs. There's only 3 more slides. So one of the things to get out of this is to really think about what are the challenges you face in these areas. I know you have to.
I do have to go. Sorry, but like, so Julie's here. You guys can hang out, eat if you didn't eat yet or what. And great job. I definitely hope more people find out about this. Is great. I think it's a great day. I definitely please you. Yeah, thank you guys.
Before anyone else,
Have a great day.
do you have a sign-in sheet for an email?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
If you don't have to sign it, everybody give the card. And
yeah, exactly.
Look at her, she's here to coach.
So gender biases that exist have always existed, still exist, will continue to exist, that we have to break through. Men can cry, we can't. Okay? We're seen very differently. Men are seen as sensitive, women are seen as hysterical when we cry. Okay, now there has been some changes. Again, there's exceptions to the rule. But men can be fidgety. You know, if a woman, just what I did, if I'm in a business meeting and I'm doing this, I can guarantee you that some people are going to say, what's wrong with her? That doesn't happen. And this is, research has shown this. Men can yell. We can't in business. Okay? Now we should yell, whether you're a man or a woman.
Yeah, we should.
Okay? Men can have bad manners.
Yeah.
Okay? Different when a woman burps than a man burps.
I don't put up with it from anyone.
It can be ugly. We can't. I mean, as we get older, men are more distinguished. They have gray hair. I have to pay hundreds of dollars to take away my hair. Okay? So, you know, that's again, these are the double standards, the biases that we have to break through, and we can. And how do we do that? And I can go to the next one. And men can joke. Okay? We're not seen as serious when we joke a lot. And I'm talking about in a board meeting, in a meeting with men, in a meeting, you know, that kind of business meeting. So how do we break through these biases? I mean, we have to educate. You know, that's one thing. We need to make people aware of the biases and educate people, you know, of the double standards. You know, and I don't think it's done consciously or mean. I think it just has happened through generations,
Yeah.
through time, you know, that needs to be broken through. So those are the gender biases. I think we all have examples of something that has happened to us within this, okay, that we can share. And then part of me doesn't believe in life balance, because you can never achieve complete balance of anything. That's what we strive for, but if somebody tells you you need to have life balance, say that it's just impossible. You're asking me to do an impossible task. But it is, and women are put in that place, by the way.
Yes.
We're put in that place, and we accept it. But we have to really think about, I see, when I talk about life balance, I see it almost like the plate of nourishment, like the plate of food, that balanced food intake that we have. I kind of have that same idea with my life, okay? And these are the areas of my life. And be aware of, where are you? What, you know, this is all even, it's impossible to have it all even, but where are you being pulled the most? Where do you have to focus the most? Because only when we achieve some sort of balance, per se, okay, are we going to nourish ourselves? You know, and there are moments in time, if we have a sick child, you know, it pulls us to one direction, but if we stay there for too long, if that plate becomes too long, there's going to be maladaptive behavior. There is. You know, it's going to be anger, frustration, it's going to be all kind of stuff.
I find too that that is a limiting belief that prevents women from success, because I personally, I'm sure that you've heard this before, people say, well, I want to be really successful, but I don't want to give up my family, and it limits, people think it's an either or choice, and so I've told everybody it's not work-life balance, it's work-life integration. And so you have to integrate all the parts of your life so that they work together and you have it all. Because I think, I don't know, just the word balance psychologically probably connotates an either or scale instead of a everything scale. So I'm huge obviously into mindset thinking.
Yeah, and we need to be able to nourish ourselves, basically. Emotionally, physically, psychologically, sexually, mentally, every which way. We need to be able to nourish ourselves. And I know this is the last slide, limiting beliefs. And this is almost a whole presentation in itself. Okay, basically. We have limiting beliefs. What are limiting beliefs?
They're just simply beliefs that we have of ourselves that don't allow us to fully realize and actualize what we want.
Exactly.
And they can be a lot of things.
And they come from?
They come from childhood trauma, things people have told us.
Yeah, experiences in childhood, experiences, daily experiences we have. We can get a limiting belief when we're 30 years old of what happens to us. But this is what starts. We have an ambition, okay, and then comes our fear. We're not good enough. I'll never be successful. I'm not ready. You're never going to be ready, by the way. I wasn't ready for this. I said, what the heck, I'm going to do it. I'm not worthy. Okay. So what is your ambition? What is the limiting belief that is stopping you from being successful? Because we all have them. And we may have them unconsciously. We may not be aware of them, or we may be aware. And we may have more than one. Now, there's something that I call a gremlin, which is that little voice. You know what a gremlin is, right?
Yeah.
It's that little voice that sometimes is in our head that stops us from doing something. And we listen to it, but we shouldn't. And it's always going to be there. You're never going to get rid of these beliefs. You can work at them for them not to limit you, okay? But, you know, there are going to be moments in life, we're not perfect, where we're going to think, hey, we're not good enough. I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not, you know, there's always going to be that moment. So it's being aware to stop ourselves of that gremlin that tells us, hey, that little voice, that unconscious voice that tells us that we listen to it. You know, because it's a habit. Anyways, any questions? I went on and on and on.
just thought it was great.
What topic would you guys like to hear? Is there somebody that would like to present, not only about me? Okay, we all have different skills and ideas and sets and so forth, because I can go on. I'm a talker.
I like the brain one.
So email me if you have any ideas. I'm sort of,
I like the
fermenting.
brain one.
The brain one?
I thought the brain one was really, more revealing.
yeah. Yeah, and again, it's a lot of information for a short period of time, basically. Any questions?
I just had I tell my clients that there's a place you can go, 16personalities.com. I
Yeah.
actually took it, I'm sure you're aware of it. I told my husband when I took it, and he said, 16personalities.com, you can take it's free. And he says, that's how many personalities you have? I'm like, no, it's a test to figure out which one you have. So you can take it, and it gives you like a summary of things like that. But it's also good I had my husband take it, so I knew what his strengths and weaknesses were. So like for example, in an argument, I want to resolve it, get it over with, move forward. He wants to go and process and then come back and discuss. So you learn things about if it's a coworker or a partner or anybody, if you take it together, kids, you can find out a lot about the people that you're closely interacting with and resolve some of the differences that you have just by taking a free personality quiz.
What was the?
It's 16 personalities. And then you can buy the full.
You also have the Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, you can buy the full thing. They give you like a summary, you can buy the full thing. But if you email me, I have all of them because I bought all of them. So for my clients. So if you email me, I will give you the full.
I'm thinking of doing a workshop, Ms. Rahuli, on I think I talked a little bit about that at the leads, neuroscience, changing our behavior based on neuroscience.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've heard
based on
about
our brain.
Yeah.
Okay, which is, we can retrain our brain, and I know you're talking about neurobiofeedback. But even without neurobiofeedback, we can retrain our brain to make changes, the changes that we want.
Gratitude can change our brain. If you
Yeah.
practice gratitude every morning, it can change that negative filter into a positive filter.
Smiling
Smiling.
can change our brain as well. So even if you don't feel it, smile. If you don't feel it, be happy, because it can change our brain. But let me know what topics you want. I'm thinking of finance topic.
Ooh. Yes.
That's my jam.
Yeah. So thank you. And if you really got something out of it, please share. Because the point of this is to really help women.
Check in if you're on Facebook.
Yeah.
Check into her event.
Thank you. But I just really want women to be able to. Thank you for coming. We're going to later.
I'm interested. I was just thinking about having an accountant. Because I want to know all like the financial aspects of the business and stuff like that. Because right now, I can make a little product I want, but once I make it, how do I want to get my basic